Imagine entering a room where the air is thick with things unsaid, where every smile feels like a mask and every silence is a coded message. Most people walk through life in a comfortable blur, seeing only the surface of human interaction and hearing only the literal meaning of words. But for a specific group of individuals, the world never stays on the surface, because their minds are built to dissect every micro-expression and every shift in vocal tone. If you are one of these people, your brain is a high-speed processor that never stops scanning for anomalies in the social fabric. This heightened sensitivity is often marketed as a superpower or a rare form of emotional intelligence that sets you apart from the crowd. However, the cold reality is that this sharp awareness is a psychological cage that can eventually drain your soul if you do not learn to master this mechanism within the next 10 minutes. Your own mind will continue to simulate disasters that haven't even happened yet. You are living in a high-definition movie while everyone else is watching a grainy black and white film. But the cost of your ticket is your internal peace. This phenomenon begins with a brain that simply has no off switch for its analytical functions. While your friends are enjoying a dinner party and laughing at jokes, you are the one noticing the 3-second delay before a laugh, or the way someone's eyes dart toward the exit. You don't just experience the moment, you pick it apart until there is nothing left but a pile of raw data and uncomfortable suspicions. You are the kind of person who can turn a single missed comma in a text message into an entire universe of existential dread and social anxiety. Hyper-awareness is not merely an issue of being too smart or too observant for your own good. It is a state of constantly perceiving the hidden layers of meaning that most people walk right past without ever noticing. It feels like a gift when you use it to navigate a difficult negotiation, but it becomes a cruel burden when it prevents you from feeling safe in your own skin. Today, we are going to decode the complex psychology of the over-aware mind and provide the framework to prevent you from being swallowed by your own intellect. To understand why your brain operates at this frantic frequency, we must first look at the biological and environmental origins of this trait. Empirical psychology generally divides these individuals into two distinct categories based on how their sensitivity was formed. The first group consists of those for whom this sensitivity is a purely inborn trait, often referred to as highly sensitive persons, or HSPs. These individuals carry a genetic predisposition known as sensory processing sensitivity, which makes their nervous system function like an ultrafine filter. From the moment they are born, their brains absorb and process environmental stimuli more intensely than the average person. For an ASP, the world is always rendered in extremely high resolution, and every sound, smell, or emotional vibe is amplified to its maximum volume. Their internal world is a vivid landscape where even the slightest change in the atmosphere can feel like a seismic shift. However, for the second group, this intense over-awareness was not a gift from nature, but a hard-earned inheritance of survival. In neuroscience, this persistent state of high alert is called hypervigilance, and it almost always takes root in an emotionally unstable past. Imagine a child growing up in a household where the emotional weather changes without warning or logic. That child cannot afford the luxury of living innocently because their safety depends on their ability to predict a storm before the first drop of rain falls. They become a human radar station, memorizing the specific sound of car tires on the driveway to determine if a parent is arriving home in a good or bad mood. They learn to measure the intensity of a kitchen cabinet, slamming to calculate the level of anger radiating from the other room. They know exactly when to step into the light and be the perfect child, and when to disappear silently into the shadows of the hallway. Biologically speaking, this environment causes the amygdala, the brain's primary danger, alarm center, to be in a state of constant activation. Over years of repeated stress, the nervous system builds a sophisticated network of neurons designed to help the individual predict emotional disasters. No one taught them how to do this, but their biology prioritized survival over relaxation until the shield of awareness fused into their very skin. When these children grow into adults, they often carry a deep sense of guilt and wonder why they are constantly overthinking every minor detail. They believe they are broken or fundamentally different from those who seem to move through life with ease and confidence. But the truth is that they are not broken. They are simply carrying a form of intelligence that was shaped by the fires of necessity. The massive awareness that once protected them in a chaotic home has now become a lingering ghost that haunts their adult peace. When this survival-based awareness enters your professional and personal life, it manifests as what we call constant analysis mode. For a typical person, a conversation is just an exchange of information. But for the over-aware, the mind is always running a hidden equation. Consider the simple example of a boss sending a message on a platform like Slack at 4 in the afternoon. A normal employee might see the message, "Come see me for a minute," and assume it is about a project update or a routine task. But for the hyper-aware individual, the moment those words appear on the screen, a wave of visceral tension floods their system. They immediately sense an invisible coldness in the wording and start questioning every action they have taken in the last month. They don't just read the words, they analyze the timing, the lack of an emoji, and the brevity of the sentence, while others are nodding and drinking their coffee during a meeting. The hyper-aware person is busy taking mental notes on everyone's breathing patterns and micro-gestures. They notice the slight twitch in a coworker's jaw when a certain topic is mentioned, or the way a friend's eyes lose their sparkle for a fraction of a second. This phenomenon is deeply linked to the activity of the default mode network, or DMN, which is the brain system involved in reflection and self-referential thinking. In most people, the DMN is active during periods of rest or daydreaming, allowing the mind to wander. But in the overly aware, this network is perpetually engaged, forcing the mind into a loop of constant interpretation and social forensics. The result is a profound state of mental exhaustion that can make an ordinary day at the office feel like running a hidden marathon. This analytical lens does not only point outward toward others, it eventually turns the camera inward to create a state of hyper-self-awareness. In psychology, we refer to this as metacognition, which is the ability to think about your own thinking, controlled by the prefrontal cortex. While everyone possesses this ability to some degree, for the over-aware, it is a switch that is jammed in the on position. They do not simply experience an emotion, they monitor it, judge it, and then analyze the judgment itself. If they feel a sudden wave of sadness while walking down a busy street, they don't just let it be. They immediately cross their mental arms and demand an explanation for the feeling, questioning if the sadness is rational or if they are being ungrateful. Even moments of genuine joy are dissected and ruined by a part of the mind that is floating near the ceiling, evaluating if their laugh was too loud or if their smile looked fake. This constant internal monitoring is like trying to dance while staring at your own reflection in a mirror to fix every minor flaw in your posture. You might not miss a single step, but you lose the sense of flow and the ability to actually enjoy the music of life. Your depth of awareness increases, but your natural presence slowly disappears, replaced by a calculated performance. This leads directly into the third sign of the over-aware mind, which is the loss of innocence in human relationships. Deep awareness allows you to see the backstage of human behavior, making you realize that people rarely say exactly what they are thinking. Psychology calls this having a strong theory of mind, which is the ability to infer the intentions and mental states of others. While this is useful for avoiding manipulation, It creates a quiet kind of loss that is difficult to describe. When a coworker brings you a coffee and praises your recent work, your brain doesn't just accept the kindness. Instead, it instantly scans for hidden motives, wondering if they are looking for a favor or trying to access sensitive data. You realize that affection can sometimes be a calculated investment, and that the confidence of a partner might just be a curtain hiding a deep fear of rejection. The ability to fully trust the surface of words is gone, replaced by a persistent suspicion that every compliment carries layers of hidden meaning. You don't become a bitter or hateful person, but you do become extremely cautious, which can lead to a profound sense of loneliness. You feel like a stranger in a crowd because no one else seems to perceive the complex web of truth and deception that you see so clearly. This layer of truth is not just a logical realization. It eventually sinks into your physical body through a process known as emotional absorption. For the overaware, empathy is not a skill you choose to use, but a state of being that cannot be turned off. You walk into a room where two people have just had an argument, and even if they are now silent, you can feel the weight of their irritation as if it were a physical pressure. Your mind works like a sheet of absorbent paper, soaking up the stress and pain of everyone around you. This is connected to the mirror neuron system in the brain, which activates when we see others experiencing emotions. In your case, these neurons are hypersensitive, causing you to actually live inside another person's pain, as if it were your own. If someone sitting next to you on a train is tapping their foot with anxiety, your own heart rate might begin to climb in response. The long-term result is that you become the unofficial emotional regulator for everyone in your life, choosing your words with extreme care to keep the atmosphere stable. People love being around you because they feel uniquely understood and seen, but they rarely see the exhaustion hiding behind your calm exterior. You become a container for the emotional waste of others, and by the end of the day, you are left with a heavy chest and a mind that feels cluttered with feelings that don't even belong to you. These suppressed emotions do not simply vanish. They move into your body and manifest as physical symptoms through a process called interoception. This is the ability to sense the internal state of your body, which is processed by the insular cortex. People with high levels of awareness often have an extremely sensitive interoception system that misinterprets normal signals as emergencies. If you drink a cup of coffee and your heart beats a little faster, your brain doesn't just see it as a caffeine reaction. It scans its records and shouts that a fast heartbeat equals danger, potentially triggering a full-scale panic attack. This creates a brutal anxiety loop where a physical sensation leads to a mental misinterpretation, which then releases stress hormones like cortisol, causing even more intense physical sensations. Your body becomes a constant stream of emergency data, making you feel restless and uneasy, even when your external life is perfectly fine. To cope with this overwhelming input, the mind eventually turns toward a final strategy, which is the illusion of control. You operate under the unspoken belief that if you can predict every possible variable and simulate every bad outcome, you will not be surprised by pain when it arrives. Understanding becomes your armor, and you spend your nights running simulations of what might happen if a friend leaves or if a project fails. This leads to a state of analysis paralysis, where you are so busy living in 10 different versions of the future that you forget to inhabit the present moment. You are managing your life like a high-risk corporate project, instead of participating in the flow of existence with all its beautiful uncertainty. The cruelest part of this protective strategy is that in your attempt to stay ahead of disappointment, you slowly step outside of your own life. Protection eventually replaces presence, leaving you exhausted from guarding yourself against the ghosts of a future that may never even happen. So, How does an overly aware person find peace without losing their intelligence? The solution is not to become less aware, as that is impossible for a brain wired this way. Instead, the solution is to learn how to notice things without absorbing them. In the world of psychotherapy, this involves setting strict emotional boundaries and adjusting your cognitive patterns. You must adopt the 3 freeing principles that allow the hyper-aware to thrive. First, you must accept that not every silence is a hidden message. If someone is slow to reply to your message, you must remind yourself that they might simply be tired or busy, and it has nothing to do with your value as a person. You must consciously choose not to personalize every anomaly you detect in the social environment. Second, you must understand that not every emotion that appears in your body requires an action or a solution. When you feel a wave of anxiety or a racing heart, you can learn to say to yourself that it is just a physical sensation and nothing more. You observe the feeling like a cloud passing in the sky, without judging it or trying to fix it immediately. This breaks the loop between your physical state and your mental stress response. Third, you must realize that not every insight you have needs to be spoken or acted upon. Just because you see someone's deep-seated insecurity does not mean you are responsible for healing them or becoming their therapist. You can notice the instability in a relationship and choose to simply step back and protect your own energy instead of trying to save the situation. Clarity is only a gift when it is paired with boundaries. Knowing what belongs to you and what belongs to the world. When you practice the art of letting go, your awareness doesn't disappear. It matures and softens into a more useful form. You still see deeply into human nature, but you no longer feel the need to cling to the flaws and shadows of others. You can still feel the energy of a room, but you are no longer pulled into its current, like a leaf in a storm. The shift happens deep inside you, moving from using your awareness to predict the future, to using it to be present in the now. You move from a state of fear to a state of curiosity, allowing yourself to enjoy a sunny afternoon or a good cup of coffee without analyzing the hidden motives of the world. Your life finally becomes lighter, not because the world has become simpler, but because you have stopped trying to carry the weight of every human equation on your shoulders. The world will always be full of contradictions, fake smiles, and hidden agendas, but you no longer have to be the one who solves them all. You cannot turn off the bright light in your mind, but you can certainly change its intensity. You can transform that sharp laser that exposes every flaw into a warm, gentle candle. This light is bright enough to understand the fragility of the human condition, yet soft enough to provide you with the warmth you deserve. If you recognize yourself in this description of the over-aware mind, understand that your quietness is not a sign of indifference, but a profound form of wisdom. You are the deep thinker and the deep feeler in a world that often prefers the shallow end of the pool. This depth is not a flaw you need to cure. It is a magnificent gift that is simply waiting for your own compassion and understanding. If this journey into the mind has helped you feel a little lighter and provided a new lens through which to see your own history, I invite you to share your experiences. Someone out there is currently drowning in the noise of their own mind, and your words might be the exact comfort they need to feel seen. As we move forward, remember that your intelligence was forged in a way that makes you uniquely capable of navigating the complexities of life, provided you don't let it become your prison. Take a deep breath and realize that for this moment, there is nothing you need to analyze and no disaster you need to prevent. You are safe. You are here. And you are finally learning how to put down the heavy shield you have been carrying since childhood. The year is now 2025, and it is time to live in the resolution you have been given, without letting the details consume you. My name is Apex, And I hope this perspective helps you find the balance between your sharp mind and your peaceful heart. Thank you for staying with me until the very end of this exploration. Goodbye for now, and I will see you in our next deep dive into the human psyche.